Trini.
Hey, what's going on, people? It is your boy the G-Man, and yes, I am back for another edition of 5 Minutes with the G. This is Vlogume 13, and you know what, I want to get straight into this because this vlog is going to be an extended version. Yes, it's going to be a little too longer than usual, but it always is, isn't it? But you know what, I want to send a big shout out to the straight Shootin LJA, Jizzy Fizzle, JBK and Nathan Arsenal. These are the Pitch Talk family members. And I'm gonna ask you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, also share and like these videos and turn on the notifications, so when these videos drop you will be the first to be notified. So yes, the T's and C's are over with. Let's get on with this topic. So this week I'm going to be talking about open rotation and the rotation policies. It's a debate that I've been having for quite a while with PT family members and friends and it's just basically me. I'm not really a big fan of open rotation, and how I would describe open rotation is like, so for example, if we're looking at bigger teams, they might tend to have one team that generally plays in the league and then another team that plays in a lesser cup competition. Well, I'm not a fan of that. I do not like that type of rotation. But you know what? I sent a voice note to some of the PT family members and also some friends, and this is what I had to say. I don't believe in an open rotation policy. I believe open rotation creates comfortability, and this is what we've all been upset about this season, because what open rotation effectively does, in my eyes, is it allows players who are on the fringe, they just feel like, you know, they're going to get into the team anyway. It creates that I'm getting into the team anyway. For instance, the Europa games, like if you know you're just not in the first team, there's nothing to push you to make you want to play in Europe, because you know that's the competition for you. And then there's nothing specifically that pushes you if you are down and off form to say, look, I need to perform well to get back into the team, because at the end of the day you are going to get your matches, and if you are happy with just playing one game a week, if you are happy like just resting on the Saturday, like, do you get me, you ain't going to push yourself to be in the first team. So this is what I mean, like, you need to have a fine balance. Yes, I agree, I might have been talking, you know, out of sense when I was saying I want players to die and break down on the field, but I'm talking about mentality rather than actuality, if you get what I mean. I'm talking about, I want the mentality that players, first team players, like, I want them to be fighters. I want them to be like, yeah, I don't want to not play on Saturday. I don't want to not play on Thursday. I don't want to not play in the FA Cup matches. We need those type of players, man. We need players that can go on like they've got Duracell batteries just padded in them, you get me? Those are the players you need. Yes, I understand what you mean. Smith Rowe is a young guy, you need to protect him. You can't have him playing week in, week out, because obviously he could get an injury, and you could have like the Derby/Wilshere effect. But at the end of the day, these young players, sometimes you just got to go with faith as well. You got to allow them to play, man. That's my mentality, you get me? Because like I said, this open rotation policy, it does no good. It does no good. You get me? You want people to be like Salah, Mane, you get me, Firmino. When they're not playing, they're unhappy. You don't want guys sitting on the bench thinking, oh, don't worry, I'm going to be playing on Thursday. You get me? It's not good. It's not a healthy policy. Not a healthy policy at all. But anyway, that's just the way I look at the situation. So yeah, that was basically my argument. Yeah, I just believe that open rotation, it creates inconsistency within a team. It creates an unneeded comfortability with the players, and also it just creates a weaker mentality. But that's just my opinion, you know what I'm saying? Here's what JBK had to say.
Just to go over your point in terms of rotation, if you're talking about squad rotation, there's three things that you may have to consider. One is very obvious, the pandemic. For the big teams, as you've noticed, Manchester United, Chelsea, Manchester City, Liverpool, Anyone that's in Europe, basically, Spurs as well, and anybody that's in Europe, they've all been doing the whole rotation policy, and the reason being is obviously it's quite clear. Can't have the same players playing 3 games in a row, because it's just going to burn them out, especially when the season started in September and you basically had 2 weeks off in August to September before the start of the season. So that's the first thing that I would say maybe need to take into consideration when it comes to this. I agree with you on the points that the rotation shouldn't be afforded to a massive club, and yes, a club like Arsenal should be looking at burying the hatchet and going, you know what, these are the players that should be starting. And it'd be nice to see. I think with us, we need to just have a solidified first team, but we've had injuries which has hampered the way that the selection process has been, and that's also been part of the problem that we've had going into the season. In terms of the rotation policy, again, we've got a lot of players who are young, and if you look at it between David Luiz, Orba, Laka, Willian, a few others, there is a massive age gap between the two, where some are saying, well, we're looking to wind down our careers and we know that we're going to get into the squad and it's just a nice little paycheck to say that we're still playing. Others are looking to get into the squad, like Saka, Emile Smith-Rowe, Joe Willock, Fullerin Balogun, and a few others. I might have mentioned Saka already. Maitland-Niles is being shifted out of the squads, and I don't know if that's rightly so or not. But again, the problem is that we've got a massive gap in age, and I don't think the older age group are actually mentoring the younger age group as much as they should be, and it's probably created a little bit of a divide. My assumption is this, to wrap it all up: yes, we should have a first team, and yes, we should work with just the first team that really does the job. This season is a bit of a different case altogether, in the sense that it started late, and I still don't think that the Christmas break should have happened in February, but apparently it does, with some playing 1 week and some playing the next week. I don't know if that's happening this season, but for the situation that it is, we had that last season and it just didn't make any sense.
So yeah, Jamie makes a good point there. You know, clubs are going to use rotation as a tool to essentially freshen players up. But you know what? Here's what the straight Shootin LJA had to say on the topic.
See, for me, rotation's one of them interesting things where I think it's a necessary evil, to be perfectly frank, because if you're playing, if you're a team, like let's take Liverpool for instance. If we're a team, or you're a team playing 60 plus games a season, you can't have the same 11 playing all of those games, especially with a season like the one that we're in now, where games are coming every 3 days, every 3 to 4 days, and that's if you're lucky on average. Because we've seen certain games have been rearranged, games get rearranged for television, and it's one of them ones, if games are getting taken out because of COVID, they're scrambling to rearrange so that there's not a fixture pile up at the end of the season. And the Christmas New Year period is notorious for that fixture pile up already, because this country doesn't seem to want to have a winter break to allow the players to rest, recover and recuperate. But it's one of them ones. But we know who's in control of football here. It's not the Premier League, it's not the Football Association, it's Sky Sports et al. But for me, remember when Ranieri used to get buried for being the Tinker Man and making all those changes? Remember Sven-Göran and Eriksson, when that during friendlies used to just basically change his entire 11, including the keeper, and it was like, and they both used to get buried verbally for that. And now it's all about rotation. Pardon my language, but it's all about rotation. You have to do it. You can't have, so especially if you're pushing for titles, you don't want your better players, let's say, playing in the league on a Sunday evening on a 4 o'clock kickoff, Then on Tuesday, traveling to say Plymouth Argyle or Barry Town or Emley FC in some sort of bloody FA Cup third round place in the arsehole of nowhere. And then Saturday morning you're on the early kickoff playing again. You don't want to be, it's like you don't want to have your, you don't want to have your standard. I wouldn't want Sadio Mane doing that. But whenever he's left on the bench or taken off, like look at the Crystal Palace game when he was taken off and he was pissed. And it's like, well, you need that mentality. As Gavin said, you do need that mentality of these guys who want to play, of these guys who will go to the ends of the earth. And it's like, you know what? I want to play every game. You'll get some guys who, and I hope I don't jinx this, but you'll get some guys who, like Andrew Robertson, who were very lucky, who, considering the position he's in, and he's never actually really been injured. He's been very fortunate. I mean, speaking as an amateur league left back myself, it's like, that's a lot of running. So to not pull up with a hamstring or a calf problem, or like if you're going in for blood and thunder challenges and not holding back, you're getting up and down the pitch and you're not pulling up with injuries. You've been very fortunate. Either that or DDP Yoga, aka DDPY, is serving you very, very well. But it's a case of you need that mentality where it's like, I want to play every game. I want to play every game. But you don't have to play that player in every single game, because that's the whole point of having a 25-man squad for the Champions League and a 25-man squad for the Premier League. They don't have to be the same 25 for both. So you can prioritize based on that.
So yeah, you hear there, LJ had a very balanced argument for the pros and cons of rotation. He did actually say a lot more than that, but I couldn't fit the whole clip into this video, but maybe one day I'll drop the full thing. But you know what, let's listen to what a PT listener had to say about this. First of, we're gonna go with Guru43.
When you say rotation, this is from perspective. If you're a top 16, squad rotation seems the wrong word. It's called utilization. These top 6 have huge squads, a lot of international quality players. It makes sense to keep players fit. But for lesser teams in the bottom 10 of the league, I would say that the rotation policy is used to protect star assets. So the likes of Palace protecting Zaha, your Newcastle United is protecting Maximin, your Arsenal's protecting Aubameyang. This is what these teams need to do. But the top 6, if you're a team like Tottenham, no, you don't. You have to utilise your squad in order to remain competitive to push for major honours.
Again, interesting. Guru43 looks at it as, different clubs are going to use rotation for different reasons. So clubs at the top will use rotation differently to those at the bottom of the league. Interesting. Now let's listen to what J-Dadz had to say.
I'm all for squad rotation, but it needs to be the right rotation, alright? You can't rotate a squad. You can't basically have 2 squads, like you play 1 11 today, another 11 tomorrow. That you won't get no consistency. You can gradually rotate a squad by changing 1 or 2 players, not in key areas, and then once the game starts, then you can again bring in 1 or 2 players. So you gradually change. I'm not for making 8 changes. That's ridiculous. You're not going to get no fluidity. You're not going to get no understanding from players of how they do their runs and stuff like that, because as much as people say they train together, all that stuff, right? You can't mimic a real match. You can't mimic the intensity. You can't mimic the pressure. You can't mimic the feel. You can do things 100 times in training, but it's not the same as in a match. Yes, you can have an idea of what your partner's going to do, but you won't be able to everything's different. These guys are not robots. Every time you pass the ball doesn't go exactly where you want it to go. So it's best to kind of keep the same formula for as long as you can. Example, look at Liverpool. When they kind of fallen off now, but the last 3 years, they've been the most consistent team because, in my opinion, they play exactly the same team. At Liverpool, you don't even need to guess the lineup. They're playing exactly the same team. If everybody's fit, everybody plays. Everybody plays pretty much every single game. All right, and I'm one for, like, you don't really get tired. Like, if you're good players want to play. When last do you see Ronaldo getting rested? If you're on it, you're on it. Do you know what I mean? You train right, eat right, you can play every single game. That's what I believe anyway. But in regards to rotation, I think you need two things if you want to be a team that rotates your squad. You need two things. First, you need a squad. Yeah, you need a really good squad. There's no point rotating shit players because you have like a good 11 and then you bring other players in and then you're shit. The second is you need to have a manager that trusts the squad. Prime example, I don't think Liverpool have a good squad. They have a good 11, maybe 13. And when injuries come through, what they're doing now is moving midfielders into defence because they don't trust the defenders. Do you know what I mean? So the manager doesn't trust the squad. And again, he doesn't even have the squad as well. Another example, Man United have a squad. They have a very good squad. So they can bring in small changes and you won't see massive differences in terms of how they play and the differences in the drop-offs in play and stuff like that. You can see their team pretty balanced in all areas. Same as City. That's why with City it's so hard if you have any of their players in your fantasy team because you never know what Pep's going to do. You have a rough idea, but you can just switch it on you one last minute and play someone else. So yeah, he's somebody who trusts his squad because he's got a very, very good squad of players. And now you can see they pick up momentum because they rest players at the right time and stuff like that. I know it's kind of contradictory saying I'd rather have a solid 11, but what I believe Pep does it the way which I described. He brings in 1 or 2 changes. It's very rare that he does like 10 changes. He'll probably only do that like if he's playing like Rotherham or something like that, where he believes his squad is good enough to beat whoever they're facing. But for me, I'm old school. I thought you play your best 11. I think the next game is the most important game. I know you plan to win the game after that and the game after that, but for me, like I treat football like it's on Football Manager. I don't look, oh, we've got this game in the next 3 weeks, this guy might get injured, I'm not going to play him. Nah, blood, you can get injured in training. Do you know what I mean? You get injured going to work, going up the stairs. Anything can happen. So it's just like when you play football and like the sun, you take your advantage while you have it, right? So the advantage is if you've got a good squad, play a good squad. But if a player is half injured and you don't want to risk him, then you don't risk him. But if he's fit, he plays. There's no let's save him.
Yeah, I'm very much inclined to be in agreement with J-Dadz on this one. Personally, from my point of view, is I just like to see the strongest team, my team, playing all the time. Do you get what I'm saying? Like I'm not saying I don't want to see fringe players break into the team, but I want to see fringe players break into the team deservedly. So I mean, because they've broken their backs, not literally people, but you know what I'm saying, like they've literally put in the work to get into the team, and they've obviously performing someone else who is in the team. I understand everybody, it's a squad game and everybody has to be involved in this day and age, but also I do believe if you're really out there to win stuff, yeah, you use your best 11 more so than not. But that's my opinion. That's the PT family's opinion. That's the PT listeners' opinion. We want to ask you, what's your opinion? You get me? Please just drop your comments in the comment box below. And you know, the question is, naturally, do you think the rotation system's used too much? And yeah, love to hear from you. Anyway, people, as you can see, the tiredness is in my eyes. I've got to go. Got to leave you. Laters. Peace.